The president of Peru, Pedro Castillo, denounced a coup attempt following the announcement of new changes in his cabinet. The United States doesn't rule out the possibility of sending military reinforcements to Europe in view of the tensions on the border with Ukraine. China's foreign ministry on Tuesday condemned the latest planned United States arms sale to Taiwan, saying it seriously undermined the country's security and sovereignty, as well as peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the informations. The president of Peru, Pedro Castillo, denounced a coup attempt following the announcement of new changes in his cabinet. The president strongly rejected the accusations of alleged direct interference in the decision-making from his collaborators' team. Through his official Twitter account, Castillo issued a statement reaffirming his position regarding claims made by some former officials about his administration. We must remember that these accusations came after the announcement of a new cabinet change, motivated by harsh criticism generated by the appointment of Héctor Valer as the chief of staff. He also warned that these actions affect governability, which he considers part of a plan that seeks to declare the presidential vacancy. And the president of Peru, Pedro Castillo, reaffirmed his position on governing until the end of his term and carrying out his campaign promises amidst the harshening of the slander campaign conducted against him and his party by the far-right opposition and the media. In a brief release addressed to the public opinion, as reflected on his Twitter account, the presidency denounced the media campaign that the far-right has launched to promote his ousting from office, which he labeled as anti-democratic and perilous for the country's stability. The official denied the claims, saying his staff overstepped boundaries concerning the decision-making process, while condemning the attempted soft coups carried out against his rule that responds to a set of wealthy minority interests. The president also ratified his commitment to the people of Peru. In Nicaragua, Daniel Ortega's administration sent to the National Assembly a bill to approve cooperation agreements with the People's Republic of China. The bill included the agreements signed between the country's head of state and Cao Yanmin, the vice chairperson of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, including the country's incorporation to the Belt and Road Initiative. It also established a mutual visa exemption for diplomatic passport users, service passport holders, public affairs or official passport holders, and a memorandum of understanding between the foreign ministries of both countries to establish a political counseling mechanism. The initiative was referred to the Foreign Affairs Committee for its consultation and will be submitted to the Assembly for its due approval. In Mexico, the mayor of the municipality of Contepec, Michoacán, Enrique Velázquez Orozco, was shot to death and his body was found in a property in the town called El Jacal, adjacent to the state of Mexico and the state of Querétaro. Relatives of Velázquez Orozco, who on June 6, 2021 won the mayor's office of Contepec, led by the Institutional Revolutionary Party, informed the State Attorney General's office that the politician had been missing since last Saturday. However, they did not report the incident for fear that his safety will be put at risk. The body had injuries apparently caused by a firearm projectile, but an autopsy will be performed to determine the causes of the death. With this crime, there are already 2 acting mayors assassinated so far in 2022. Former President of Honduras, Manuel Zelaya, met with Jorge Calix to address the political crisis in the Central American country. During their meeting, a deal to preserve the peace and fairness in Congress was struck. The signing of an agreement concerning the new formation of several bodies of the government was seen as one of that aims to preserve unity above differences by the ex-dignitary Manuel Zelaya, now General Coordinator of the Libre Party. Colleagues committed to resigning his post as head of the Congress saw in his stead Luis Redondo can assume office, and agreed upon by President Xiomara Castro's and Salvador Nasrallah's allied parties during their campaign. This presents itself with the condition that the Libre Party now reinstate those members of parliament, formerly among the organization's ranks, who opposed Redondo's presidency of Congress by appointing colleagues.
So we are contributing to generate processes, to find solutions to the great historical problems of this country. Dictatorship is still here. Dictatorship simply lost elections, but they keep managing great structures of power in the country. We will keep together, united, to rebuild democracy in Honduras, to go back to the constitutional order, to go back to the democratic order, and so that this state, they have become a state enemy of the people. This state to become a state of guarantees for the people. This is going to take a lot of months and a lot of work, and many of them we're going to work there in the National Congress, rebuilding laws that were adulterated and changed, making constitutional reforms to go back to the state of democracy, constitutional democracy, that guarantee the rights of the people. Former President Zelaya, who we're talking about, we don't have a commitment with anybody, but with the 1,700,000 people who voted for a change. It is a time we set to work. What do we have to work on? In eliminating the secrecy law, in lower the prices of the basic products, in promoting laws that generate jobs. That's what we have to work on. We only made a lobby to get votes, but we have no commitments. Each one of the offenses and the lies that have been said about these people and those who decided to support me and this Refoundation Party. So these slanders, we're going to shut them up with actions, because it is with actions that we respond to slander.
The 13th International Congress on Higher Education, known as University 2022, is underway in the city of Havana. This year's central theme was the use of innovation for sustainable development, mainly pointed out the link between universities and the business sector. The event is held on a mixed modality with both face-to-face and virtual encounters. Academics, professors, and students from some 20 countries around the world were invited, and 1,786 papers on the event's theme were selected, of which some 200 were from foreign participants. The president of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, offered the opening remarks on the event, where he denounced the advances made by the capitalist system in strengthening inequality in the midst of the pandemic caused by COVID-19. We focus now in Costa Rica as the vote count continues and the national electoral authorities are set to provide a final result this Tuesday. On April 3rd, Rodrigo Chávez from the Social Democratic Party and José María Figueres of the National Liberation Party will face each other in a second runoff to decide the nation's president for the next 4 years. With 88.20% of the votes counted, according to the latest official tally, former President Figueres leads the electoral race with 27.26%, while economist Chávez follows with 16.70% of the votes. Following the latest report, electoral authorities announced that abstentionism dropped from 44.1% to 40.29%, which might seem a high number, but still represents a record for general elections since 1953. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back. The United States doesn't rule out the possibility of sending military reinforcements to Europe in view of the tensions on the border with Russia. The information was released on Monday by White House press chief Jen Psaki, who said it has always been an option considered by the Defense Department and its NATO partners. It confirms Washington's policy towards Russia and the current situation with Ukraine, which is why it recently sent troops to Romania, Poland, and Germany. In this regard, John Kirby, the Pentagon spokesperson, pointed out that the purpose of the deployment is to support the allies, but made it clear that these troops will not stay in the region forever. On its part, Moscow rejected the accusations and denies having plans to attack a country, while defending its right to move troops within its territory. The Russian government denounced that the West is preparing provocations to fuel the conflict between Moscow and Kiev. Russian Foreign Minister spokesperson Maria Zakharova said on Monday that the West is trying to prepare the media space for a series of major provocations, including military ones linked to an alleged attack on Ukraine. In this sense, it is further evidence that the NATO country, led by the Anglo-Saxons, are escalating the tension around Ukraine. Moscow urged London to abandon provocative actions and stop spreading nonsense. Russian Foreign Minister spokesperson Zakharova also said that both publications were denied by the foreign ministries of Russia and China. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday hailed France's efforts to strengthen European security as he hosted French leader Emmanuel Macron for talks.
I see how much effort the current leadership of France and personally the French president is making to resolve the crisis related to ensuring equal security in Europe with a serious historical perspective and to resolve issues that are related with it, namely the resolution of the internal Ukrainian crisis in the southeast of the country.
On the other hand, French President Emmanuel Macron told his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin that he hoped talks in Moscow could lead to an easing of tensions over Ukraine.
The discussion today, in my view, can begin to move towards what we need to do, which is de-escalation, the terms of which we know, the political-military situation, the Ukrainian question, the importance of which you have reminded us, and the Normandy model, the security situation in Belarus and in the whole region, and the major issues of collective security that we are going to discuss. So I am delighted to have the opportunity to go deep into all these subjects and to start building a useful response collectively for Russia and for the rest of Europe. A useful response is one that obviously makes it possible to avoid war and to build elements of trust, stability, and visibility for everyone.
Now we'll move on to other topics. On Tuesday, more than 17 million students returned to school in Vietnam after 9 months of suspension due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The return to school undergoes by observing safety measures such as masks and temperature control. According to the Ministry of Health, the measure affects 17.1 of the 22.6 million school children in the country and exempts primary and 6th grade students in the 2 main cities of Vietnam. The return coincides with the end of the Lunar New Year vacations and for most pupils is the first contact with face-to-face classes since schools closed in May. Given the behavior of many governments that choose to underestimate the deadly impact that the Omicron variant is having on the world's population, the World Health Organization insists on continuing to implement mass vaccination and asks for the respect of the international health safety standards.
With COVID is very dynamic. We are seeing a record number of cases being reported to WHO each week. Every day, between 3 and 4 million cases are being reported to us, and we know that this is an underestimate of the true number of cases. What is extremely concerning is that we are seeing increases in deaths, and in the last 4 weeks alone, we've seen a sharp increase in deaths around the world. Omicron, the latest variant of concern, has quickly replaced Delta, the last variant of concern that was circulating globally, and this has happened very quickly. We've seen a very sharp peak in cases around the world, but not all countries have peaked in terms of their cases. And as I said, the deaths are also increasing as well.
Chile began administering a fourth dose of COVID-19 vaccine for its population over 55 years of age. Until then, the fourth dose was reserved since January 10th to immunocompromised persons, healthcare workers, and elderly people in nursing homes. Of the 18.9 million people aged 3 years and older, only 2.1% have so far received the fourth dose. A total of 89.6% completed their basic vaccination schedule with one dose or a double shot, and 73.9% received the third or booster dose. So far, the country has purchased 51.5 million doses from Pfizer, BioNTech, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Sinovac, CanSino, Sputnik, and Janssen. The country began this fourth dose process in the midst of a wave of contagions with record daily figures of over 30,000 confirmed cases, although the high vaccination rate helps to ensure that most cases are mild and do not result in hospitalization or death. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. China's foreign ministry on Tuesday condemned the latest planned United States arms sale to Taiwan, saying it seriously undermined the country's security and sovereignty, as well as peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. The U.S. approved a $100 million support contract with Taiwan aimed at boosting the island's missile defense systems amid heightened tensions with China. According to the Pentagon, the funds will be used to sustain, maintain, and improve the island's Patriot missile defense systems. Sales included drones, missile systems, and new generation fighter jets. Taiwan's defense ministry said the decision to obtain newer Patriot missiles was made during a 2019 meeting with the U.S. officials in the administration of former U.S. President Donald Trump. Sudanese security forces fired tear gas on Monday at dozens of demonstrators calling for civilian rule and justice for protesters killed since last year's coup. The tear gas was fired at demonstrators who were heading towards the presidential palace in the capital Khartoum in the latest rally against the October coup led by Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. Regular mass protests have been held since the coup, which derailed Sudan's rocky transition to civilian rule following the 2019 ouster of President Omar al-Bashir. At least 79 people have been killed and hundreds wounded in the crackdown on anti-coup demonstrations. Monday's protests took place despite heavy security presence. It came only 2 days after dozens of pro-military demonstrators rallied against recent United Nations talks that aim to help resolve the political crisis.
We took to the streets today to keep up the movement against the military coup. We will continue our demands. They are clear. No negotiation, no partnership, no legitimacy. We will continue until the regime falls. There is no way for the Sudanese to fight this coup regardless of whatever it costs. This has been happening for more than 100 days and we will continue no matter the cost.
Now we address other topics. At least 20 people have died and more than 52,000 have been displaced in Madagascar by the impact of tropical cyclone Batsirai last weekend. This was informed on Monday by the National Office of Risk and Disaster Management of the island nation, which also detailed that the cyclone has destroyed more than 3,000 houses and flooded more than 5,500 homes. Batsirai made landfall late last Saturday near the city of Nanjarai, with winds of more than 235 kilometers per hour, according to the Madagascar Meteorological Institute. Batsirai hit Madagascar after the passage of Storm Ana last January, which caused at least 58 deaths, mostly in Antananarivo, and affected some 131,000 people throughout the island. An estimated 13 million people in Kenya, Somalia, and Ethiopia are facing severe hunger as the Horn of Africa experiences its worst drought in decades. According to the World Food Programme, 3 consecutive rainy seasons have failed as the region has recorded its driest conditions since 1981. The drought has destroyed crops and inflicted high livestock deaths, forcing rural families who rely on herding and farming to abandon their homes. Water and grazing land is in short supply, and forecasts of below-average rainfall in coming months only threaten more hardships. Michael Dunford, World Food Programme's Regional Director in West Africa, stated the situation requires immediate humanitarian action to avoid a repeat of the crisis like that of Somalia in 2011, when 250,000 people died of hunger during a prolonged drought. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.